forensic scientists always become expert witnesses or consultants in legal cases?
Basically, if you're doing work on a case in forensics, you have to be able to testify in court. So you might not be an expert witness right away, or you might not be an expert witness, but you'll still be a witness in that trial. So maybe if you just took in evidence, you might still have to testify for that. So eventually, at some point, you always have to testify.
Super. Okay. The fourth panelist is Deborah Dubrodny, who works for the same police department, I believe, the BPD, as a criminalist, and has been there since October of '07. Prior to that, she was with the Office of the State's Attorney in Connecticut, and has a Master of Science from University of New Haven and a Bachelor of Science from Fordham University in the Bronx.
So I kind of came into the field a little diverted way, so I'll give you a little bit of history of that in case you're not on the science path right now. Fear not. I actually work in the physical comparison side of forensics. I don't participate in any straight biological or chemical processes, although I do use biology and chemistry in my work. The main thrust of my job is actually visual and perceptual, and I'll get to that eventually. I have my undergrad degree from Fordham University in, which is a Bachelor's of Science. It's in psychology. Originally wanted to do research in the field of criminal justice and forensic psychology. Figured out along the way that I was more interested in the law enforcement aspect of the field rather than the research and science side. And so in the meantime got an internship with a police department in my hometown as an identification bureau technician, which is basically a technician in the crime scene unit. And I assisted officers there processing crime scenes and items of evidence for fingerprints, as well as collecting blood samples and other forms of evidence from crime scenes for analysis. Along the way, decided that I wanted to go into federal law enforcement, and so sought a master's degree in national security from the University of New Haven, and that's what I do have my master's in, and was going to go into federal law enforcement. Along the way of that, got a job with the state's attorney's office in Connecticut as an investigator, and realized that I hated case management. I hated interviewing people, because they always lie. I hated, dealing with witnesses. I hated coordinating this whole massive case that was going to be put on for a trial. And so I realized that what I missed was participating in that forensic aspect. Was lucky enough to have the opportunity to apply at Boston Police, and since I did have the practical experience from Milford Police, was lucky enough to get the job there. I will say I am the exception rather than the rule. Nowadays, there are a large enough pool of applicants that they do favor biology and chemistry majors. But again, the practical experience, especially in the latent print side, is still just as important, I would say, today. So I've been with Boston Police since 2007, and basically my function is to examine items of evidence and crime scenes for the presence or absence of latent fingerprints, which are evidentiary fingerprints. I then take those fingerprints, analyze them to determine their suitability for comparison, compare them, and then make a determination as to individualization, exclusion, or inconclusive. We are a small laboratory in a large city. We're inundated with casework, and basically that's all the time I have is dedicated, during the day to the cases that are coming in. Most common type of case we encounter are breaking and entering, and we have thousands of those, although our priorities are set from the Commissioner's Office, and we are solely right now able to work homicides, gun possession cases, sexual assaults, and person crimes where someone ends up injured. Due to the high volume, those are the cases that we are able to work. I've testified over 4 years between 45 and 50 times. I'm constantly being called to court. And I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the National Academy of Sciences report that was issued in 2009. If you are interested in this field, I strongly encourage you to take that report and lock yourself in a room for a couple of days and read that. We are being battered with that on the stand these days, especially the physical comparison side. The report had a lot to say about whether what we do is scientific, and we are constantly trying to fight this battle of proving that we do use a scientific method in latent print examination and physical examinations. We are applying scientific techniques that have been peer-reviewed, that are tested regularly, and that are valid. So that's one of the challenges that is certainly part of this field as a whole. I also have the opportunity to train detectives at the Boston Police Department in latent print recovery. And so that's a cool aspect of the job also that Boston affords us the opportunity to do. So we actually go into the districts, train detectives on the techniques that are suitable for preserving latent prints, but then they can be recovered, photographed in our unit. It's a very interdisciplinary discipline, if I can say that. There is not only the physical task of recovering latent prints, figuring out which chemical or physical process is the best for developing a latent print on any surface. There's also photography skills needed to recover and capture those latent prints. And then there's the whole other side of the, do you have the perceptive skills needed to analyze a distorted latent print, figure out its value, and then compare it. So it's, I love it. Like, I think I agree with all the panelists up here when I say that if you do like what you do, it does not feel like work, although I encourage you to cultivate your hobbies. I'm also a professor of dance at Salem State University, so I'm very proud of that.
Tell them what a latent print is as opposed to what big sponge that you can see.
This is just like testifying. Thank you. A latent print is a fingerprint basically that's left behind in the natural oils and residues we have on the surfaces of our hands and possibly our feet. It's invisible to the naked eye without some sort of mechanical or chemical enhancement. So if you see a fingerprint on a piece of paper left in black ink, that's not a latent print, that's a patent print, something different. A latent print has to be developed in order to be analyzed.
It's hiding, it's hidden, you can't see it with the eye. If you want to learn more, you have to come to my course.
Or do an internship with that.
Yeah. And we, like Boston Police does accept interns, not a high volume of them, but I encourage you to get in touch with Jen or I. Because
hair drug test.
Correct. The experience of actually seeing what you think you want to do in action is invaluable.
This is why we have COA. Yes?
Yes. I think that's it for me.
Okay,
That's
great. I also encourage people to read the National Academy of Sciences report that came out 2 years ago. It's available online. You can download it. You can sit down and study it. I've read it myself. Carl has read it. Most of us here up front have read it. If you want us to talk about it later today, after Carl's finished, we can do that. It's a milestone, if you will, in how the field has been evaluated. However, I want to ask Debbie a question, and one of them is, what are the career advantages of going into forensic science versus doing straight science as a career?
This is the one I hope I didn't get.
I rearranged them.
Okay. What I would say is you do have, if you're interested in the law enforcement aspect or the legal aspect of science, that would be the advantage over going to straight biochemical, biology or chemistry as a career choice. For me, that's what I like. I actually enjoy testifying. I enjoy knowing so much about something that I'm considered, a court-qualified expert. I enjoy being voir dired. I enjoy having that, back and forth where I'm actually bolstering and contributing to bolstering what we call our science. I wouldn't say there's any, I would say, it depends on what you call an advantage or a disadvantage. We are sort of strapped by casework, I would say. The average caseworking forensic scientist is extremely busy, but we don't have time to do research. Where if you are employed in the biological and chemical sciences, you might be able to have that part of your job. But I have to say, I really don't. Since I don't have experience in that area, that's probably the best answer I can give.
Okay, fine. Last question is, what something students should be doing now to better position themselves for future opportunities?
Well, I've already mentioned the internship career opportunities, and keep your eyes open for those. Figure out what you like doing. This isn't, it's not like TV. I know that's probably going to be the first question someone asks. It's not like TV at all. It's actually very methodical, very slow, sometimes painstaking work. And the days fly if you like what you do, but it's not it's not sort of how it's depicted in the normal popular media. So if you can figure out what type of person you are, if you're detail oriented, if you're extremely organized, if you keep a track of everything that you do, these are the types of qualities that make you better suited to this type of position. And so figuring that out about yourself can sort of help you along the process. and exploring opportunities in the field.